Russia, the largest country on Earth, a land of ancient empires, sweeping revolutions, and immense global power. Have you ever wondered how this colossal nation came to be? From Viking traders to Tsars, and from communist superpowers to the modern federation, its story is one of the most epic in human history. Today, we're going to explore the entire history of Russia, from its very beginnings to the present day, all in just a few minutes. So, buckle up for a journey through time. Our story begins over 1,100 years ago, in a sprawling medieval state called Kievan Rus. It was founded in the 9th century by Scandinavian traders, known as the Varangians or simply Vikings. They navigated the great rivers of Eastern Europe, establishing trade routes, and eventually settling among the local Slavic tribes. This fusion of cultures gave birth to the first major East Slavic kingdom, with its vibrant capital in Kyiv. Kievan Rus flourished, adopting Orthodox Christianity in 988, which would become a cornerstone of Russian identity, culture, and art for centuries to come. This was the cradle of Russian civilization, but this golden age was shattered. In the early 1200s, a storm gathered on the eastern horizon. The Mongol Empire, led by the successors of Genghis Khan, swept across Asia and into Europe with unstoppable force. The scattered principalities of Rus were no match for the Golden Horde. City after city fell, and for nearly 250 years, the Russian lands were under Mongol rule, paying tribute to the Khans. This period, often called the Mongol yoke, was a time of hardship, but it also profoundly shaped Russia. It isolated Russia from Western Europe, but also centralized power and influenced its military tactics and political structure, in ways that would last for generations. Out of the ashes of Mongol domination, a new power began to rise. In the late 1400s, the small principality of Moscow started to gain strength and influence. Its strategic location and a series of cunning and ambitious rulers allowed it to grow, gradually absorbing its neighbors. The pivotal figure in this era was Ivan III, later known as Ivan the Great. In 1480, he famously stood up to the Golden Horde, effectively ending 2.5 centuries of Mongol dominance. He tripled the territory of Moscow, unified the Russian lands under his control, and laid the foundations for a centralized Russian state. Moscow had become the new heart of Russia. Ivan the Great's work was continued by his grandson, a man whose name would echo through history, Ivan IV, better known as Ivan the Terrible. In 1547, he was crowned the first Tsar of all Russia, elevating his power to a new, imperial level. His reign was a study in contrasts. He massively expanded Russia's territory, conquering Kazan and Astrakhan and pushing into Siberia. He also modernized the government. But his rule was also marked by paranoia and extreme brutality. He established a secret police force, the Oprichnina, that terrorized the country, earning him his infamous nickname. Ivan left behind a larger, more powerful, but deeply scarred nation. After Ivan's death, Russia plunged into a period of chaos known as the Time of Troubles. But in 1613, a new dynasty was chosen to lead the country out of the darkness, the Romanovs. This family would rule Russia for over 300 years, overseeing its transformation from a distant kingdom into a global empire. The early Romanovs worked to restore stability and expand the state, setting the stage for one of history's most dynamic and forceful leaders. That leader was Peter the Great, ascending to the throne at the end of the 17th century. Peter was a giant of a man with even bigger ambitions. He was determined to drag Russia into the modern age. He traveled across Europe, learning about shipbuilding, military techniques, and Western culture. Upon his return, he launched a whirlwind of reforms. He built Russia's first navy, modernized the army, reformed the government, and even forced his nobles to shave their beards to look more European. His greatest achievement was the founding of a new capital, St. Petersburg, his window to the west. Peter transformed Russia into a major European power. Throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, the Russian Empire continued its relentless expansion. Under rulers like Catherine the Great, it grew into the largest contiguous empire the world had ever seen, stretching from Poland in the west to Alaska in the east. Russian armies pushed deep into the Caucasus, Central Asia, and the Far East. But this vast, multi-ethnic empire was built on a foundation of autocracy and serfdom. While the aristocracy enjoyed a golden age of literature and art, producing giants like Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, the vast majority of the population lived in poverty. Defeats and conflicts like the Crimean War exposed the empire's weaknesses, and social tensions began to simmer, leading to calls for revolution. That revolution finally exploded in 1917. Battered by the immense losses of World War I and crippled by internal strife, the Russian monarchy collapsed. The Tsar was forced to abdicate, ending 300 years of Romanov rule. In the ensuing power vacuum, a radical faction seized control: the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin. Inspired by the ideas of Karl Marx, they established the world's first communist state. After a brutal civil war, they consolidated their power and in 1922 officially created a new entity, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or the USSR. The world would never be the same. Under leaders like Joseph Stalin, the Soviet Union underwent a rapid and often brutal industrialization. It became a global superpower, one of only two, locked in a decades-long ideological struggle with the United States known as the Cold War. This was the era of the space race, with the USSR sending the first satellite and the first human into orbit. It was the age of nuclear anxiety as both sides built up massive arsenals. The Soviet system brought industrial growth and military might, but it came at the cost of political freedom, with a strict one-party rule and suppression of all dissent. But the mighty Soviet Union was not destined to last forever. By the 1980s, its command economy was stagnating, and the immense cost of the arms race was taking its toll. Political and nationalistic pressures were building inside its borders. In 1991, following a series of reforms and a wave of independence movements in its constituent republics, the Soviet Union peacefully dissolved. 15 new countries emerged from its breakup, with Russia as its largest successor state. The Cold War was over, and a new era for Russia had begun. Today, the Russian Federation remains a major player on the world stage. It possesses the world's largest landmass, a formidable nuclear arsenal, and vast natural resources. Its journey from the Viking settlements on the Dnieper River to the Tsar's palaces of St. Petersburg, from the communist dream of the USSR to the modern nation it is today, is a testament to its resilience, complexity, and enduring impact on global history. This has been the story of Russia, a nation forged in fire and ice. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through Russian history fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. See you next time.